In 1981, there was a murder so shocking that it changed the entertainment world forever, yet the killer was never brought to justice. Now, almost 40 years later, we're reopening the case, reviewing old leads as well as new evidence, to try and make sense of a killing which gave rise to a massacre. The who, what, why, and how of when video killed the radio star. Welcome to the Radio Star Murders.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Radio Star Murders. This is a podcast where we talk about music videos and we try to figure out if video did in fact kill the radio star. My name is Wes Teasdale. I'm joined by Clay McCormick. Clay, it's your turn to pick a song. We have done my song last time, so the way the show works is we alternate picks, and now it's your turn. What have you chosen to discuss this week?
I have jumped us from the 80s back to the 90s. We'll be talking about Blues Traveler Runaround, which was one of my favorite videos when I was a kid. I like this one because I think it's very clever, and it's a storytelling video. We've kind of noticed trends of different styles. You can kind of take the music videos and cut them up into different approaches that are kind of uniform. Like you can apply them to a lot of different videos. And this one is actually kind of similar, I think, to it's a little bit Meatloaf, but it's actually for me a little bit closer to Smack My Bitch Up, oddly enough. Where they're telling a story, and the story is not connected to the music aside from like tone.
Yes.
And the music ends up being sort of like a soundtrack to the short film. And what happens in this short film, you might ask, and I'm going to tell you. Somewhere in a wet city, 4 underage friends in bargain basement Wizard of Oz cosplay try their damnedest to get into the coolest, whitest club of 1994 so they can see a band that looks so suspiciously like Counting Crows that it has to be a choice, not a coincidence. After trying bribes of both money and boobs, they corner a drunk guy with a lick attack to steal his hand stamp and sneak in the back door. Once inside, we find that the Dorothy of the group has snuck a dog into the club, which seems super inappropriate, but honestly would probably fly if this was like Portland in 2019. But the dog wreaks havoc by pulling back the curtain on the band, completing the Wizard of Oz loop, exciting the friends when they discover the band on stage is lip-syncing, but then quickly bumming them out when they realize the real band is just Blues Traveler.
That's right. Jam band extraordinaire, hidden behind the curtain.
The manager quickly removes the friends from the scene before the truth can get out, preserving his con and returning Blues Traveler to their indentured servitude. Again, this band looks so much like Counting Crows that I can't not think it's some weird meta comment on Counting Crows being a shit band, and in this sense, the video is a timeless piece of work.
I hadn't listened to Blues Traveler in a long time. I think we mentioned on the last episode that my parents had the album when I was growing up, and I think they had their debut album as well. Mm-hmm. I think I remember liking this song more in my memory than I've been listening to it for, I listen to these things a couple times a day as we're getting ready to talk about them. Mm-hmm. I don't think the song is very good.
I still really like the song.
You still really like the song, yeah.
I think lyrically it's kind of weird and silly, and I've always I think the weird thing about this video for me is like the lyrics don't match what's happening, and I think part of that is because the lyrics are kind of just like borderline nonsense.
I think it's funny. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it makes sense. Like it's one of those songs where you actually sit down and listen to or read the lyrics. It's like, okay, what he said, it's not nonsense, but just to listen to it, it sounds like nonsense. Pilots and actors and what the fuck is this guy talking about? But when you actually break it down, it's like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
What's funny to me about it is that it feels like I think the song does have a point, and it's about like sort of betrayal and like like not really seeing like your friends not being honest with you, or like loved ones not being honest with you and giving you the runaround. However, it veers dangerously close to my least favorite kind of lyric writing, which is made pinnacle by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is you just kind of say a bunch of shit that sounds
Yes.
like it has a point, but it's really just
Yes.
rhyming with everything.
That's what I mean. It's where I say it's nonsense. It's like, this sounds like it's not, it's just a bunch of words.
Yeah, it's hey yo, I got your snow or whatever. Like the fuck, but I think that the Blues
Give it
Traveler
away.
song,
Give it away. Give it away now.
what I got to give it to your mama.
What if you were to change those lyrics to, what I'd like is I'd like to hug and kiss you?
I think the Blues Traveler song does have a point to it. And I think that it's better than the Chili Peppers in that sense, and that it like actually is kind of about something. However, I think if I was breaking this down on like an English major level, a lot of his metaphors don't make sense.
Yes.
Like a game show contestant with a parting gift, I could not believe my eyes. However, in context, he's talking about something terrible, and a game show contestant winning a prize is something good for them. So it's like it's this mixing of metaphors that doesn't make sense. However, he does it because it rhymes with the previous lines.
Yeah. There's a there's lines in this. Yeah, his metaphors are really he stretches for a lot of them. Like damn it, what's the one? Like a bad play where the hero's right and nobody thinks or expects too much, but Hollywood's calling for the movie. Right? It's like he gets a kernel of an idea and then just like goes down that road a little bit, and it sounds cool, but it's not really supporting the story, and I don't think it necessarily has to. It's interesting how he definitely goes on metaphorical tangents a lot in this song.
It's funny. It's almost like
I like
looking
coffee
at it.
and I like tea, but to be able to enter a final plea.
See, what's funny is that I think the first half of the song is actually pretty good lyric wise. It's almost like he didn't have enough lyrics for the rest of the music, and he starts making up bizarre shit later on in the second half, which is like tra la 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 bombardier. This is the pilot speaking. I've got some news for you. It seems my ship still stands no matter what you drop, and there ain't a lot that you can do. Which is not a very good line, I don't think. But his opening
is that
line,
supposed to be like, no matter what you throw at him, he's still gonna be
he's
there?
still standing.
Yeah.
I mean, the opening, once upon a midnight dearie, I woke with something in my head. I couldn't escape the memory of a phone call and what you said. That's pretty good. That's a good little, partial verse, but he starts getting into ridiculous things later on. And maybe I'm focusing too much on it. Although I watched a live performance of this song. I don't know how great the band is at this point. And apparently, looking at Wikipedia, they're considered a jam band. I don't consider them a jam band at all, but maybe that's coloring me because there's nothing more I hate than jam bands. So what do you think about Blues Traveler?
I think they're a really of the era kind of band. Like there's this weird kind of style of middle of the road rock music. The Counting Crows style of rock music that appeared in the 90s that fits them to a T. I think they're probably one of the better groups that was doing that stuff. Like you've got these guys, or like Counting Crows, or like the Spin Doctors, like that kind of thing where they are very close to jam bandy, but they're not quite over there. I think they've become a jam band since then.
Okay.
But at the time, I feel like Blues Traveler feels very 90s to me. I like them. I don't seek them out necessarily. I actually, if we end up doing, maybe I kind of blew it by doing this one first, but if we start doing themes, multiple videos by the same group or whatever, I think the video for Hook is actually really good, and I think the song Hook is probably a better song.
Hook is a better song. I was actually confused when you mentioned this. I was confusing the Hook video with this song, and I like the video, and I think Hook is a better song than this.
Maybe I should have just picked Hook. I don't know. But this one is the one that stands out to. I always remember this video because I think visually it is pretty fun. I think the Wizard of Oz thing is a nice gimmick that works in and of itself even before the payoff at the end. I've always thought it's a nice video that works tonally with the song, because the song is very upbeat and kind of, the chorus being "Why You Want to Give Me the Runaround" kind of works with what's happening, where it's these kids trying to do whatever they can to get around this bouncer, and the tone feels very of a piece, even if the visuals don't match the story being told.
Yeah, I think the video works. I was actually maybe this shows my low brain power at this point. I did not get what was going on sort of for a long time. Like I thought it was a Halloween party for the longest, for like the first half of the
Oh,
video. I was like, well, it's obviously like a Halloween show. And it all comes together when they do the very Wizard of Oz pull back the curtain and Dorothy looks at them thing.
yep.
And it's clever. I like it. It screams 90s to me for
Oh yeah,
some reason.
big
I
time.
don't really know why. Just the way everybody looks. Everyone looks very 90s in it, which is, the way that everyone in an 80s video looks very 80s. But
It's very the visual, the style of the way it's shot feels very 90s.
yes, it feels like a Gap ad or something. Like it reminds me strongly of selling clothes because there's a lot of shots of Dorothy's ass and her legs and stuff like that. Like they're really
Yeah.
focusing on her, but not in like a sort of gross way. But it felt very much like she's a model and you're gonna buy these jeans at the end of this video. But I liked it. The Counting Crows thing is dead on. I was thinking that the guy looked a lot like Vincent Chase from Entourage for some reason was the vibe I was getting out of it. But I think what it's most clever in doing, selling it as a music video, is that it's hiding Blues Traveler, who are a fairly ugly band, from view.
Yes.
I mean, John Popper's not exactly a 10 out of 10, but his bandmates are basically they look like truckers who play in a bar band on the weekend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
They're
think
very
hiding them
normal
is a
looking
good
dudes.
idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what's actually kind of brilliant about it is they take the cliche music video trope of let's just put the band on stage playing their song, and they subvert that by doing that trope, but the band on stage is not the actual band from the song. So they take that established music video trope and then they use it to their advantage to put a little bit of a spin on it,
Yeah, yeah. I do think it's a good
while also kicking the Counting Crows right in the taint.
as you want to do. I thought it was good. It held my attention. I think it's clear to follow what's going on. It's really, yeah, the main takeaway I got from it was just the 90s vibe. And I do think that Blues Traveler sort of weirdly fits into that like Spin Doctors kind of era of music and stuff like that. But Blues Traveler, I feel like Blues Traveler is like almost a gimmick band in some ways.
Mm.
Like they're so close, like Popper with his harmonica type stuff.
Yeah, you're that's the thing people remember about Blues Travelers, the harmonica. I remember. I don't know if you've ever seen Blues Brothers 2000.
Yes.
If you have, I'm sorry,
I've seen the original
but
too.
they show up in that movie because I feel like in the year 2000 they were the closest thing there was to a blues band in popular music. And there's a point towards the end where they're doing this like blues jam off or whatever. And this little kid who, don't ask me why they have a kid with them, but they have a kid with them who's dressed like the Blues Brothers. And he plays the harmonica and he starts ripping into the harmonica. And you're like, that's John Popper. Like John Popper's harmonica style is like Stevie Wonder's harmonica style, where there's nobody else who plays like that. And as soon as you hear it, you know who it is.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of, yeah, it's kind of, if you were to call Blues Traveler gimmick band, it would be because, yeah, you're there to watch John Popper rip a harmonica solo.
What do you think of the harmonica as an instrument?
I like it. I like it. It's kind of best used sparingly.
Yeah, it's tough to be the
However,
focal point.
yeah. However, I think that he has managed to find a very inventive way to play it, which then makes it a focal point. And I don't think he really overdoes it, where he has, much like a guitar solo, he has points in the song where he just rips, but it's not like he's playing it through the whole set or the whole song. It's not quite. Although I don't know, maybe if you go to see them live, by the fourth song where he's ripping a 5-minute harmonica solo, you might want to go home.
Well, there was a
let me tell you a story. My girlfriend and I went to see Johnny Lang, who is a legitimate blues band guitar player, and every song he did the whole night, every single person in the band got an extended solo.
Yes. Yep.
And we were really excited to see him because we had never seen him before. By the fifth song, we were like, oh my God, we've made a mistake. Because every single song was like, guitar solo, organ solo, bass solo,
Yes.
second guitar solo. And then it's the end of the song, so he's got to do that thing where he just draws out the ending for like 20 minutes. And then now the drums are drum solo. It was every single song. It was so tiring. It's one of those things where it's like you find yourself clapping so much just because you don't know when the song's going to end.
And it's polite.
So it's like, this must be the end, so
right.
I'm going to clap now. But no, they're still going, so I got to wait. And then this must be the end. Nope, still going. Long story short, that's why I also hate jam bands.
Jam bands are funny to me. I feel like when I was in college, jam bands became a very big thing, and it's almost like a college tradition to get into jam music when you're in college for some reason. And I find jam bands to be, at this point, like almost unbearable to me. Like it's to non-musicians, I think, like I'm barely I have a drum set and I haven't played it in forever. But it's like jamming is how songs originate. Like it's one of the ways of writing songs. If you're not going to be like a standalone songwriter who brings your material somewhere, jamming is where stuff comes from. And it's not the same as like jazz soloing over the melodies and the chord changes and stuff. It's less skillful than that. So like jamming is not that difficult. And if you're doing it night in and night out as a touring band, it's kind of their bread and butter, of playing music. And I just find it much more satisfying for a band to come up with a tight 4-minute song than it is to do an extended 20-minute jam on something.
Yeah, I think it has its place.
Has its place in certain genres jam, but they don't build around it. You know what I mean? Like blues is based on the soloing and everything like that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't consider that jam bandy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like my favorite band is Led Zeppelin, and I feel like I think they inadvertently kickstarted a genre of mid to late 70s rock music where people were like, oh, we can just dick around for 20 minutes and people will clap for it.
That's the main reason I have a hard time with Led Zeppelin, actually, is because of that, yeah.
But I feel like they actually knew when to and when not to do that, because they had a nice mix of straight ahead 4-minute rock songs, and then they would also after everybody was nice and high, then they would do a 20-minute jam on one of their songs. And the thing that's great is that they were such a great band and so in sync that even though they were jamming and kind of making stuff up, they would still have a very satisfying kind of arc to everything. Unfortunately, they became so popular that a lot of these other bands were like, I don't know if you've ever listened to Rainbow, the Deep Purple offshoot that Richie Blackmore was.
No, never heard of him.
Ronnie James Dio was the singer. Richie Blackmore basically, I think, looked at Led Zeppelin doing these long songs and was like, well, what if I did that for every song? So every song that they play live anyway is like a 5-minute guitar intro, or like a 5-minute organ intro, and then like another long extended, solo jam in the middle of it. And it's like, I want to hear Ronnie James Dio singing songs, and I want to hear riffs. I don't want to listen to you, hang on one note for 40 minutes while you're like, peaking on your high or whatever.
Yeah, live AC/DC is similar to this, where they noodle around a ton between their songs, and I find it extremely irritating. It's like Angus Young running back and forth from like stage left to stage right and doing a little riff. For a band that's all about the song, it's bizarre that that's how they spend their time between songs to me.
Yeah. It's nice if you have like a showcase song. Like I know AC/DC, all their songs are pretty much, short, punchy, to the point. But then there is one showcase song, I think it's like Bad Boy Boogie or something like that, which is in an extended Angus showcase where he's just, tearing ass for 8 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
And those are fine. I like that, where it breaks it up a little bit. You've got kind of a showcase in the middle there. But yeah, if that's your whole show, no thank you.
To get back to Blues Traveler, one review I saw that I was looking at this, it was like, it was like an AV club. What are you listening to now? And the writer was just saying that his 3-year-old daughter had somehow heard this song and it's all she wants to listen to at this point. And having kids, a 2-year-old myself now, it totally makes sense that this is a song a kid would love.
Yeah,
it's got that kind of bouncy, goofy vibe to it, and the lyrics I think would make them laugh. But the main takeaway I took from it was that the writer made me laugh when he said that a kids love the harmonica because it sounds like a cartoon train farting. And I kind of agree with that. And I think less of the harmonica now that I kind of realize that each harmonica, the reason Popper has so many is because each harmonica is pitched to a certain key. So it's not like an instrument where you can go out of key on it. You can just blast into it, and there is obviously skill to playing it, but it's not like it's a picking up a saxophone and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, why am I not making the right noise?
Yes, but also
I'm being very condescending towards harmonicas.
Yeah, it's not. You can't pick up a harmonica and then just be like John Popper and then just rip a John Popper thing and be like,
but listen,
this is easy.
I have a harmonica. Alistair, my kid, has a harmonica, and I played it, and there's no way that you can't make the little hand fluttering thing sound good. It's just like if you hit that note and you flutter it a little bit, it sounds fantastic, no matter who you are.
That's true, but you have to hit multiple notes in a row and have it sound good.
I'll just have them put that in post. I don't need that to be done. Yeah. Do it live.
My question about this video too is: do you think the origin of this concept was like the guy behind the video met Blues Traveler and was like, Jesus, we can't put these guys on film.
He's like, can we get the camera any closer to John Popper's huge face? Can we just?
I'm sorry. I don't know why there's a bunch of Teamsters in this room, but if you could leave, I'm waiting for Blues Traveler, the rock band.
Yeah, it's they're very funny looking at it. They were the same on SNL. Like they're just sort of they're of the 90s, so they're all wearing like huge baggy clothes, and they're all sort of big guys, and they look like they're just truckers who have come in. Although I will say, the drummer is fantastic. The drummer plays with a lot of power, which is something that I'm kind of impressed with at this point in my sort of drumming nonsense.
If we get into different styles of music or whatever, or eras, I'm really interested in covering the early 90s hard rock scene, post grunge, where you have all of these hair metal hangovers who haven't totally switched away from metal to grunge, but visually, like, they dress so they all have the same look. It's basically everybody in Wayne's World, so who has long metal hair, but they also wear plaid shirts and like cut off jean shorts with like Timberland boots unlaced.
Yes.
Like the Ugly Kid Joe look, basically. It was this weird pocket where hard rock was very confused with itself and its identity, which I think would be interesting to look at some point.
Yeah, that's true. It's an era of, it's almost an era of like, now that I think it's sort of like a goofy, nerdy new wave version that popped out, where new wave is kind of cool and trend setting, and sort of like, post punk is what new wave is kind of coming out of. But the 90s version is kind of goofy and nerdy. Maybe it wasn't at the time, but looking back on it now, it is. Like, I'm thinking like Bare Naked Ladies and like Blues Traveler and Spin Doctors and stuff. Like, it's all kind of a little bit nerdy is the way that I would look at it.
Yeah. I think grunge broke music. And I don't mean that necessarily a bad way, but like everybody kind of knew what was going on until grunge came around, and then after that, the early to mid 90s is just a fucking everybody throwing anything at the wall, and hoping that it sticks.
You get like what's that? I can't remember. There's a lot of we went through an interesting phase too, where white guys started rapping like Cake and Soul Coughing, like it was kind of beat poet singing, but it's basically rapping, but it's the white person version of rapping, where it feels more like beat poetry than anything else. It's a weird time.
I guess makes it acceptable.
This is a weird time. Blues Traveler, I like the video. If we ever come back to Blues Traveler, I would like to do Hook. This song,
yes,
I don't mind this song, and I think the video is actually better than the song, which is a good way to bring us into the roundabout of does the video enhance this? And I would say that this video does enhance this song, because the song to me is not that great, but the video is pretty interesting, actually.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the video definitely enhances the song. I like the song in and of itself, but I think the reason I like the song is because I like the video. Because this was like 94 or something, so I would have been like fourth or fifth grade when this came out. And as to what you're saying, it's a song that I think kids would glom onto because it's fun, it's upbeat, and it's a lot of silly words. And the video's fun, and it gives a cool visual hook. And yeah, I think it's good. I think it's beneficial for the song.
Yeah, the only thing about John Popper I was reading, I guess John Popper's like huge into guns, and he brings guns on stage in any state that he's allowed to open carry like that.
Oh Jesus, he's one of those guys.
Which is he has like huge cannons at his house, and he's into all kinds of artillery. I think it's pretty interesting.
That's great. I don't.
Be careful with those harmonicas and guns just strapped to your chest there, John Popper. You don't want the wrong one in your mouth.
I don't walk into my live events with like a copy of Hellboy and be like, I can bring this. No one says I can't bring this thing that I'm crazy about.
He's I guess he's been trying to change his last name to John Papa Cap in your ass for the past couple of years, but he's done.
Can somebody in production add a post-production drum snare to that, please?
I think we're done with this. We both think the video enhances the song. Video did kill this radio star, I think, and Blues Traveler certainly has a face for the radio. I think we've discovered.
Do we want to talk about how the show is changing from this point on?
Sure, go ahead.
So first of all, we're going to do our first themed episode for a very special reason next week, because we will be covering Cyndi Lauper's "Good Enough" in honor of WrestleMania weekend, because that video has like 5 pro wrestlers from the 80s in it, and is awesome, even though it's based on the Goonies movie. But that's a kind of a feed into. We've done 5 of these so far. We're kind of getting our footing, I think, but we wanted to make it a little bit more cohesive. So from this point on, I think we're going to be doing groupings of themes. So for instance, the next 4 weeks we'll do movies. Maybe we should just start with, since Goonies is from the Goonies, maybe the first thing we should do should be movie music videos.
Yeah, that's a good. We'll write that in stone right now. So the next month of 4 videos will be movie related music videos.
Yeah, and so it's going to be kind of like that moving forward. We might do movie music videos. We might go back to an artist and do let's do 4 videos from Michael Jackson, or well, maybe not after that documentary comes out.
Or just genre or anything like that.
Yeah, genre or something to make it a little bit more cohesive. So it's not just like at the end of every episode, one of us going, what if we do like the Space Jam soundtrack, or something like that?
Yeah, because I think it's a good idea, because we both had the same problem of there's so many videos to choose from. It's the problem of choice. At a certain point, you're just like, there's so much that I could choose from. I don't know where to go. So I think theming things will make it a little bit easier to decide what we want to do.
Yeah, and I think it'll be nice for the listeners to be able to kind of automatically be on the same page of what we're going to be looking at and stuff. So I think that'll be a fun change moving forward.
Yeah. So for next week, I'll put a link down to the Cyndi Lauper video so you guys can catch up on that one. And then that's it. We'll be starting with the movie themed after that. So that's it. This is the show. The Radio Star Murders. Thank you for supporting us. There's all the Facebook and Twitter links and Discord. You can go to the Discord if you want to chat there. Patreon.com/the Pensky File if you want to support the show. There's a bunch of shows that we do. We have a Star Trek show. We got a movie show. This is one of the shows. If you're new to us, this is it.
Talk about Batman
on Badass, and there's a Prisoner show. And I think I feel like there's another one now, but I can't really remember what we did the Star Wars a little bit.
And we haven't talked to or seen our families in years.
I know. It's sad, but they grow up so fast. And now my son is going to grow up to be a harmonica playing douchebag, and I'm going to be the one to blame because I wasn't there to stop that nonsense.
I learned it from you, Dad.
Harmonicas. That's it. I think that's it. Thank you guys very much for listening to the show. Thank you for supporting us and all that stuff. And I think we'll be back. Clay, thank you for bringing Blues Traveler out of the 90s and into 2019, where we can all enjoy it right now.
Anytime. You always got to ask. But why you want to give me a runaround?
Buddy, you. And then should we just end this by slowly degrading ourselves into talking about ships and cold winds and waitressing to bring us drinks?
I'm most fascinated by his actor analogies that he uses in there. They're very strange.
I personally like tra-la-la-la-la bombardier, which is a very, very funny thing to say. All right, guys, thank you very much for listening. We'll be back with Cyndi Lauper. See you next time.